of the two-day interdisciplinary National Conference on Climate Change and its reflection across the disciplines, organized by the Department of English and Department of Lifelong Learning, Indra Kalam Sangeet Vishwavidyalaya, Khairagarh. Firstly, I welcome Dr. Prasenjit Panda Sir, Assistant Professor in English, Guru Ghasedas University, Bilaspur, who will be chairing the first technical session of the conference. Next, I welcome Dr. Dikti Jain, Assistant Professor from Chhindwara and the co-chair of today's technical session. Now, I would like to invite Kaustubh sir to give a memento to our co-chair of this technical session. As we all know, thank you, Kaustubh sir. As we all know, that climate change is an issue that has always remained hidden in plain sight, but now it has started to become evident in all spheres of life. So, it is of utmost importance that this idea undergoes serious discussions and brainstorming so that we get ample solutions to tackle the issue of climate change. Without further delay, we shall move on to the technical session. Now, I welcome Dr. Tipti Mishra from Government Autonomous PG College, Chhindwara, to the stage to deliver her ideas and reflection on the topic of her conference.
Very good afternoon to all the dignitaries seated on the dais, Dr. Panda, Dr. Dikti Jain, and all the dignitaries who are seated off the dais, students and research scholars. It's my first visit to this university, and I'm really I feel privileged and honored to be amongst you. It's a great honor for me to present my paper in this university. I had a great desire to visit this university, and my desire has been fulfilled today. The topic of today's conference on climate change, its reflections across the discipline, is a very relevant topic in the present day scenario where we humans have defiled nature, the environment, to such an extent that it has become difficult to survive. In my research paper, I have tried to analyze the relation between the environment and the humans in Margaret Atwood's The Handmaid's Tale. Before going into my analysis of the paper, let me first introduce the novel for a better understanding of the issue under study. I'll tell you something about the novel. After a stage attack that killed the President of the United States and most of the Congress, a radical political group launched a revolution. The Constitution is suspended, newspapers are censored, and what was formerly the United States of America is changed into a military dictatorship known as the Republic of Gilead. This regime, it reorganizes a society into a new military hierarchy model of social and religious fanatism among the newly created social classes. One of the most significant changes is the limitation of people's rights. Women become the lowest ranking class and they are not allowed to own money or property or to read and write. Most significantly, they are deprived of control even over their reproductive function. So, I have taken the backdrop of the environment in this novel, and you will find that the protagonist of this novel, she is Offred, and she narrates a story in the first person narrative, and the novel closes with an epilogue entitled Historical Notes from the year 2195 after Gilead has fallen, and that the historical notes are written in the form of a lecture. This novel has been adapted also into a television series by Bruce Millers, and 5 seasons of this have been already aired, telecasted, and the creator has announced to produce one more season which will be aired shortly in around this year itself. So the backdrop that I have taken for the novel, and the backdrop of the novel is the environmental degradation and damage, and the topic of my presentation is depiction of environment in Margaret Atwood's The Handmaid's Tale. Now I begin with the analysis of what I have read after reading this novel and watching the series. Margaret Atwood's The Handmaid's Tale, published in 1985, is set in an indeterminate dystopian future speculated to be around the year 2005. The central character and narrator of the book is Offred, a handmaid. She narrates her story in the totalitarian and Christian fundamental bureaucratic state of Gilead, which has taken over the United States, and as a response to fertility crisis. Now this fertility crisis has arisen because of the wars that had taken place, because of the toxins that had been spread in the soil. So there is a strong correlation between the story and the environment in the novel. The future portrayed in the novel is a bleak one due to climate change, and Atwood speaks about a possible future, not an invented one. The world that has been created by the novelist is one where air and water are polluted with chemicals emitted due to radiation caused by wars in which nuclear weapons have been used. The novelist depicts the havoc inflicted upon nature by the irresponsible behavior and actions of man. Since morning we are constantly speaking about the havoc that man has created upon nature by defiling it, by spoiling it, by putting in pollutants, by the nuclear wars and weapons that are being used by man. So the novelist, this has brought both harm to nature and mankind. Senseless human interference, deforestation, industrial development, greenhouse gas emissions, depletion of water resources, electronic waste are some of the issues that have brought about the degradation of land and environment. Atwood was deeply influenced by the environmental background of her times. The malfunctioning of a pressure valve at the 3 Milestone Island nuclear plant in Pennsylvania in 1979 significantly affected the health of the fauna and flora of the region, leading to concern for the environment. She chose this environment for her novel, The Handmaid's Tale. Further, as Dr. Shukla in the morning talked about Rachel Carson, so I am also telling you about that. The publication of Rachel Carson's Silent Spring in 1962 analyzed the long-term impact of commercially manufactured pesticides on the ecosystem. At that time, DDT was sprayed to kill malaria, to kill the mosquitoes that spread malaria. But it had adverse effect on the environment, ecosystem. Carson boldly asserts, within quotes, no witchcraft, no any action has silenced the rebirth of new life in this stricken world. The people had done it themselves, unquote. This work, Silent Spring, shows the concerns for the responsibility of human action upon the earth. Many such issues occurred which influenced Atwood, and people also reacted towards the degradation of the environment. Environmental movements originated and earth summits were organized to find a solution to stop the damage to the environment. During the writing of this novel, Atwood was concerned with environmental issues like population growth, toxic radiation, water and air pollution. In the television series of the same name, the focus is on the climate crisis, worries about human survival and environmental breakdown. The protagonist of the novel, Offred, describes the origin of the Republic of Gilead as environmental disbalance caused because of exploitation by humans, the spread of nuclear war waste in the environment, toxic pollution, etc. Offred comments, within quotes, meanwhile, these toxins creep into your body, cramp out into your fatty cells. Who knows, your very flesh may be polluted, dirty as oily beads, sure death to shore birds and unborn babies, unquote. This gory picture of the environment severely affected humans, especially females. This pollution damaged the uteruses of many. In the novel, the handmaids are the fertile women who are a valuable commodity owned and forced to give birth for the wealthy and powerful elite. In the television series, the focus is the environmental disaster, climate change, and the policies that have been framed by the Gilead to stop environmental degradation, conservation, and sustainability by switching over to organic and sustainable farming, decreasing their fossil fuel emission and decreasing the consumption of material goods. So in this series also, Atwood had spoken about it, and in the series it has also been emphatically stressed that how to save the environment, how to save the change of the climate, and the Republic responded to climate change by reducing its consumption, its carbon emission by 78% in the first 3 years of its creation, its existence. The government also made efforts in improving and reversing the effects of global warming. Almost all cars in Gilead were shown as being hybrid, producing very less noise. This indicated the progress made by the Republic in sustainability. The Gilead had reportedly taken stringent steps to reverse and improve the effects of global warming. The methods adopted to stop climate change were harsh and despotic, with no concern for human rights and dignity. The Handmaid's Tale portrays a society in the grip of fertility crisis due to the misuse of environmental resources, and as I've already told you, the women had no right over their reproduction. The ideology of Gilead, which is grounded on religion, regarded infertility as a penal plague sent by God in response to air pollution with chemicals and radiation and poison. To increase its winning population, the Republic employed unethical ways where fertile women, who were known as the handmaids, were forced to conceive with men belonging to the ruling class. Like in this Republic of Gilead, the handmaids, these women who were fertile, they were kept by the commanders, they were kept in the commander's house, and they were forced to conceive for these commanders and these elites. Their bodies were brutalized and they had to sacrifice themselves. The novel not only highlights reproductive injustice, but also the injustice upon the climate. Atwood has very skillfully painted the violence and environmental chaos in the state of Gilead and sounds a warning that if women are unjustly treated to stop climate change, then the world won't be worth living in. The novel is partially prophetic as it caters to climate change and its impact on pollution. The main concern of the novelist is that the future of the environment and the future of the people are extremely intertwined. According to Atwood, humanity, she says within quotes, nature never belonged to us. It simply allows us to exist within it as a visitor. Unquote. This is what is to be remembered by man. If we exploit nature savagely, what will happen? If we forget the consequences, nature will begin to threaten the very human existence. The novel mentions that those who revolted against the state, sterile women, the unmarried, feminists, lesbians, nuns, and handmaids, who were unable to conceive after 2-3-year assignments, were punished by being sent to the colonies. Now, what are the colonies? The colonies were the places where the soil had been polluted due to radiation, due to the nuclear wars, and so these females or those men who went against the Gilead, the Republic of Gilead, they were sent there as prison labor to pick up radioactive waste with their bare hands. They were not given any protective gear to pick up the waste. Even Jezebels, women who are forced to become prostitutes and entertainers, are either killed or sent to the colonies. when they pass their sexual pride or their looks fade. They had to till contaminated soil with bare hands. These colonies were situated at the boundary of Gilead and were toxic wastelands polluted for decades by pesticides and radioactive fallout. So we see that in this novel, the novelist has portrayed a very bleak and very dreary picture of the environment that has caused infertility in the females and how they were being misused because of this by the elite class. In the novel, in The Handmaid's Tale, the women take the central role and the environmental crisis forms the backdrop. And the novelist has attempted to correlate the problems of the handmaid with infertility to real-life issues that the world faces, such as chemical pollution, radiation, and sexually transmitted diseases like HIV and AIDS that are specifically mentioned in the historical notes section at the end of the novel, which was relatively new disease at the time of Atwood's writing. She has strongly aired her views on environmental issues and their negative consequences for our society. Despite the destruction caused by environmental disasters, the novelist is hopeful that the world can return to a better place if humanity changes its behavior, its ways. The novelist's underlying message that environmental degradation will spark unprecedented social and political conflicts had become more urgent in the generation since Atwood introduced the world of Gilead. So, this is my analysis of the novel, and I would just sum up and close my concluding remark is by a famous Swedish environmental activist, Greta Thunberg, quote, "You are never too small to make a difference," unquote. We all can make difference to bring about change in the environment which we have defiled, which we have polluted. So every one of us can put in our contribution to bring about the change. Thank you.
Do you have any questions from the audience?
Any question?
Okay, after the liberating overview, we will be having a discussion on that. Fine. So let us complete the preparation.
Thank you, ma'am, for sharing your ideas and thoughts with us. Now, every speaker will be given 10 minutes to present their paper and 10 minutes. For the presentation is 7 minutes, not 10. So now, next one. Now I welcome Pradeep Burman from HNLU to the stage to deliver his ideas and reflections on the topic of our conference.
Very good afternoon, everyone. So basically, the topic for my presentation today is environmental concerns in Avatar movie series. So the first thing that came to my mind, I was watching a movie called Moana, and when I watched that movie, it's a very entertaining one if you happen to watch that. So the point is that there is this goddess. The goddess called nature, and a demigod steals her heart, and the heart is stolen, and the outcome is that it is a complete chaos. In fact, the land are turning into barren, and there is no fruit, there is no flower, or the flora and fauna is suffering like anything, and it's the responsibility of the heroine of the movie to restore the heart. so that the balance, the harmony could be reestablished once again. So now with that, I'm a great movie buff, so obviously my focus is completely towards movies. So when that idea that when I watched that movie and then coming back to the depiction of nature and environment in general, and how there are different facades that we can see in our day-to-day life, and how they find a kind of reflection to each other, like it's a mirror in between that this side, the cinema, literature in general, and the actual scenario that is happening. And we can all agree that thanks to this seminar, the conference, but we all know how grateful the situations are getting as far as nature is concerned. Anyway, so this explored me to inspire. This inspired me to explore some more about environmental concerns in cinema and literature. And one interesting part is that whenever I watch any movie or when I read a book that is based on science fiction genre, you'll see that at the very beginning of that movie there was a great event, a great tragedy, or a great disaster that happened. Right, so be it a great fire or the flood or the things turned into ice and all that. So that is the pretext of all the movies, and the characters, and the mankind is almost or has been moved to extinction, and they are scraping, for their survival. So when I see that, so in the same when I looked at the movie Avatar, when it came, it became a revolution on its own, right? Because of all the CGI effects and everything, the story and everything. But the important part, what I looked into, was the relation between nature and the people living in a planet called Pandora. When I look into it, what I find is that there is a great deal of harmony. In fact, when the protagonist in the movie goes to Pandora to mix up with people, he has to change himself completely, and in the process, we find that he has not only he has got the physical changes. No, it's the emotional, spiritual transformation that happens, and eventually he becomes one of them. And the life, the way of life of those people are as such that they are in tune with nature. Like those people, without the nature that is around them, is unimaginable, right? And the same. What do we have about Earth in that movie? Is that mankind have almost ruined themselves, and it is on the verge of extinction. So in order to find some source of life, some significant material that could help them in their survival, so they are going to dig down that Pandora planet. And in that process, they are going there and colonizing they are trying their best to colonize the people, and the rest of the things. I assume you have watched all those movies, so I'm just pointing out these aspects in the first movie. And when it comes to the second movie, you'll see that it was not enough that flora and fauna around, but also the water is of utmost importance, and how this time it was human versus Pandora, the land, and the tribe that we were concerned with, right? However, in the second part, it is more like a tribe and then another tribe, and the tribe, the first one, has to acclimatize themselves to the environment that is prevalent at that point of time. So the conclusion of this paper is as such that what I find, the harmony that I see in the movie resonates with the cultural heritage that we have from our agency. It is that every tree are worshipped, trees are concerned the source of life, and the same thing is resonated in the movie, you'll see that there is a great tree, that tree called Tree of Life, where everyone, they connect for their emotional, spiritual, and physical transformation or connection. Alright, so that part is there. And also, in the modern scenario, what I find is that when this much of degradation of things are happening, be it not just the quality of air that I'm talking about, you come from Delhi and you will bring something with you apart from memories, something worth your hospital time. So you know that, right? So anyway, that would be all from my side. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Thank you, sir, for sharing your ideas and thoughts with us. Now, I welcome Pradeep Burman, sir, from
That was me.
Abhishek Katwar, sir, from Government DB Girls PG College, Raipur, to the stage to deliver his ideas and reflections on the topic of our conference.
Thank you so much to everyone, and thanks for the waiting for all of us, because we started our journey at 1 p.m. Thank you, ma'am. So my topic was about environmentalism in selected novels, especially special reference to Brave New World, first of all, and second is Mars trilogy. Brave New World by Aldous Huxley, everyone knows about it. So there is environmentalism, and my research about this is Aldous Huxley investigates the connection between people and the nature world in his book Brave New World. He also discusses the possibility that people are becoming less connected to the nature and effective about the detachment. The society Brave New World envisioned become a reality as culture movement and the responders' background change. The problem raised in the book become more pressing. The city artificial environment is constantly constructed with the nature world and exalted in comparison. Huxley's Brave New World opens with an image of a clinical desolate world with towers that are list 34 stories. Using the scientific tone and technical language, the story creates negative imagery throughout, but especially in the first 6 chapters. The use of negative language and artificial depiction of the familiar natural environment establishes natural descriptions and significant notion to the respondent, such as family and marriage. Learning is regarded as an integral part of the respondent, maturity and human nature, despite the resident of Brave New World referring to it as it is a labor of discovery. Hearing the negative definition of house, which was thought to a significant component of the responders, society and emotional representation of human love and life. One of the boys turned the pale at the simple description and was on the verge of becoming sick. The use of straightforward yet impassioned description of John as he heard the book on the floor and began to cry. If you have read this book, you can know about these lines. Stand in contrast to the scientific, emotionless portrayal of the civilized world. In order to describe the artificial reality of the civilization, Huxley perverted the corrupt natural cliches throughout Brave New World. Weak embryos are compared to ramps wrapped in thermogen budget, no lamps. In the reference of reproduction, which paints distinctive pictures of the developed world, this distortion of the natural world is painted and a distinctive picture of the developed world. In this distortion, the natural world is also employed to suggest that life is programmed, automated process. Reproductive cells are altered in Darwinism evolutionary process. Exposure to challenges X-ray for 8 minutes. An ancient god were thought to be extension of human characteristics who lived as passionate families full of hate, envy and love. Yet reference to them and their mythology alert the responder to remnant of basic humanity and emotion. This is comparable to the world controller Mustafa Mon, who is a person but is nevertheless much more potent and influential than any of the citizenry could ever be. Although the authority had tried to restrict nature and humanity, that tacit but powerful adhesion lets the respondent know that not everything natural can be subdued. In the second novel, what I took for this paper is The Science in Capital trilogy by Kim Stanley Robinson, examines socio-political response to climate change on Earth in near future scenario and include example of geoengineering as method of reproducing climate change. Although the novel 2312 is set in distant solar system with numerous space settlement and a terraformed planet, the definitive work on terraforming is Robinson's Mars trilogy. The discussion of terraforming, space travel and the cultural significance in Mars is centered in this trilogy. This leverages structure the secessionist politics found in works like Ecotopia and explores several socio-political structure in its representation. Fiction is more the key area for human activity of establishment and testing values. This is the line by Mr. Calor Franco. Similar to Ecotopia, the novel's Mars experiment alternative presides instead the create of feedback loop with the Earth is in book. The idea of putting together idea from various fields of the building the technical, social, political and economic foundation for developing self-sustained life support system on the other world is one motive from terraforming story. Thank you so much. This is my mind.